I do. All right, thank you. Welcome, everybody. Today, we want to kick off our 2026 Sioux Falls School District Facilities Task Force by opening up the application window. And so today's presentation is going to guide us through that process of applying for it, what being a part of that committee might ensue. But we've had great success throughout the years partnering with our community and getting them involved. When our community is involved, good things happen. And so this is an invitation to anybody in the Sioux Falls School District to be a part of our 30-member task force. So here's a little bit more information about the task force. So in 2018, we had our last facilities task force, and you might remember that as we went through, and it was the creation of Jefferson High School and the creation of Ben Rifle High School. At that time, we had some enrollment overcrowding on the west side and at our middle schools. And those are two projects that came of the 2018 task force. When that group of committee members, which represented the community of Sioux Falls, closed their tenure, they left us with some recommendations that we should consider in about 10 years. Well, we're about 8 years now, and so 10 years is upon us. And if you look up on the screen here, as to where we wanted to go, they left us with 4 recommendations. And the first one, we know Whittier Middle School is getting up there in age, and the district does a great job with facility standards and making sure that all of our facilities can operate and function well. It's getting to the point where continuing putting additional money into it or a new facility. And so the recommendation of the 2018 task force was a new Whittier. And part of it was somewhere in that Whittier area neighborhood was given from them. And so we are now in 2026, and we should begin the process of replacing Whittier on or near its current sites. And that's where we're at today. So in preparation of this, we've gone through our CIP planning committee, and building principals and district administration have identified some projects for facilities to keep those updated as well. And so we have a CIP list that we're going to ask the facilities task force to go through. And so if you look up on the front screen, the purpose of our task force is to review Sioux Falls School District and city growth projections. So that would be at one of the meetings. Review and prioritize current facility needs. So we would look at all of our schools and see what they consist of. And really, public education in Sioux Falls has been a community adventure. Our public schools belong to the community. And we want to make sure that they're involved as we evaluate those on a periodic basis. Another is to identify and review, prioritize future facility needs. It's not just about today or the next year, it's 5, 10 years down the road. What do we want to continue our Sioux Falls schools to look like? And then we want them to present solutions to the school board that meet 2 criteria. They're aligned with our district's mission, vision, and priorities, and they are also fiscally responsible. So that is really the purpose of pulling together a task force in 2026 involved with community members. So what does that look like? We're going to have, our goal is to have a 30-member task force, and we're going to do that through an application process. And in their small group sessions, they're going to operate inside of a group of 10, and each of those groups would have a chair. So we're looking for 3 co-chairs and a 30-member task force. We're currently in the process of identifying potential chair individuals to help us out. In that 30-member group, the diversity of Sioux Falls is a really good thing. So we're looking for a diversity of experience. Maybe there's families with little kids, older kids. Maybe the family had kids and the kids have moved off. Maybe a family has never had kids. So there is no one area to be a member of this task force. We're looking for a diverse group of experiences. Diverse location. I know the task force of 2018 identified that a new Whittier needs to happen here or is part of the plan. But that doesn't mean that only Whittier neighborhood individuals can apply. We're looking for the entire Sioux Falls School District. So the requirement is you must reside within the Sioux Falls School District. Outside of that, we're looking for a broad spectrum across the city of representation. And then a diversity of careers. The position you hold within the city, there's value in having a diverse group of people sitting at a table with diverse careers. So we're looking for diversity of careers and then truly that cross-section of the Sioux Falls School District. We would invite the board members as well. You may know of some individuals. Please share their names with us if you have some. We would take any and all recommendations, knowing that the criteria, we want a sampling throughout the city from a variety of areas, variety of family representations, variety of careers. And that's how the selection process is going to work. Important dates. So here's the timeline. If you're thinking about applying, the window opens today, and today is our launch for the application. You can go to the Sioux Falls School District websites. I'll take you through that here in a moment. But January 26th, that is today, we kick it off. February 13th, Friday the 13th. Who says great things don't happen on the 13th, right? But at 11:59 p.m., we'll shut the window down for the application window. Then that following Monday on the 16th through the 27th of February, we're going to start reviewing applications. In that application review will involve a small group of individuals. Building administration, a board member will be on there as well as we work to identify committee members for this 30-member task force. March 2nd through March 6th, we will notify applicants. If you applied, you'll get notified that you were selected for the task force or you were not selected for the task force. So those dates just guide us through that application process. If you go to our district's website, sf.k12.sd.us, you can go through the top scroll line, and if you hover on our district, you will see a drop-down menu that has facility planning. And you're going to want to click on that facility planning, as that will get you into our application window. And so we have a complete page dedicated to the facilities planning information on the Sioux Falls School District website. So whether you decide to be a committee member, a task force member, or not, you can always keep up to date on the information the task force is looking at and the considerations that they are examining. On the left-hand side of the page, I won't click into it, but on the left-hand side, you can click there to enter in your application. So it's not super in-depth. And then at the bottom, if you would like to see what the documents we provided already, at the bottom, you can click into that site as well. So if you are a member, we ask you to commit to the following dates. They are Wednesdays, and we're right now set up for a 5:30 to 8 p.m. meeting. We're looking at doing 4 meetings through the spring, starting on Wednesday, April 8th. And we've partnered with the Donovan Group. We partnered with them in 2018 when we had our task force, and we're partnering with them again. So they are going to guide us through this. So it isn't going to be district administration guiding the task force. It's not going to be our school board members. We truly want an independent party guiding the group through it so that we receive what your recommendations are. Our role in this is providing you with information, answering questions you might have so that the community, the task force, can make a recommendation based on the information, based on the feedback from the community. So there's our 4 dates. Wednesday, May 20th, that 4th meeting may or may not happen depending on how the group is going, but our goal is to wrap it up by Wednesday, May 20th, which is the Wednesday right after graduation, I believe. A little bit more information about the Donovan Group. They will be the facilitators. They're going to be gathering information. They're going to be compiling the information. And their goal is to make sure they heard the task force. And they will present their findings to the school board in August. So they're going to take some time listening to the task force, pulling the information together. They will present in August to the board. And the Sioux Falls School District team, we're here to support the task force. So any and all information that's relevant to the work of the task force, our goal is to share. If you look at a broad spectrum, you might be saying 2026. We're looking at this process from start to finish of gathering the community's inputs, probably got about a year timeline on it. So we're starting here in January of 2026, selecting the committee, the task force. The task force will meet during April and May. Then we'll have the summer. Donovan Group will be pulling that report together to present to the board in August. When the board receives that report, we're not done collecting information. We're going to send a survey out through the community. As we've shared out the task force recommendation, we're going to send out a community to the community. We're also going to engage our students. and get a little feedback from our student population as well. Then during the fall of 2026, we're going to have community listening sessions. And so if we look at that September to November, we're going to have community listening sessions so that we continue to take input. And then we will probably call the task force back together in December of 2026 so that we can examine all the feedback we received and see if we wish to alter that report or the recommendation to the school board. In January of 2027, the task force will make its final recommendation to the school board. And at that time, there's prioritize a list of projects in the school district. There'll probably be a value associated with that, like where do we sit in that realm, and present that to the school board. And the goal would be that we would be prepared for a bond election in April of 2027. And so that's a big picture overview 1 year from today. Again, our goal as we give a charge to this task force, I think we can narrow it down to 7 items. We want them solutions. Whatever our facility structures have, our task force is going to examine all those things. We're looking for solutions out of the task force that are aligned to the district's mission, vision, and priorities. We're looking at aligning them to the district's facility standards. The Sioux Falls School District has done a phenomenal job through the years with facility standards that regardless of where you live in the Sioux Falls School District, you have access. And then we're fiscally responsible. And we're asking the task force then to prioritize those events, whatever those projects are. Put them in order. Give us some direction as to what the priority should be. And the solutions need to allow us to expand or contract with enrollment shifts as they move throughout the city. We want to make sure that all buildings are safe, secure, and welcoming, and the solutions will be considered after reviewing all community input. So again, the task force is about involving the community, partnering with the community to help determine the direction of our future facility needs in the Sioux Falls School District. And that's important. We've had a history of great success with that. So as I close, we got a little flyer that we've put up there at the top. So we're going to be passing this out, distributing it. But if you want to be a community task force member, it starts today. You have an opportunity to fill out the application. Again, that's at sf.k12.sd.us. And we have our meeting dates, or you could scan the QR code right here on the screen, and that'll take you to the application link as well. So I leave you with that as we get ready to fire up and kick off the task force. Questions that the board may have?
I would just reiterate, and a great job presenting the information there and the focus for the task force. But this is our opportunity to the voice of our community, and our schools belong to our community. We've been incredibly blessed in the city of Sioux Falls and the Sioux Falls School District to truly have the support of our community. And we see that all the way through in all the events and things that happen. Those community partners that come into the schools and work with the schools. And this is just one more opportunity where our community owns our schools and is a relevant part of our schools, and we want their voice and we want them to be heard, and we want a great cross-section. And even if you're not selected for that committee, to be part of this process and to be an integral part of this process. So we have a great appreciation for our community and the collaboration that we have in and of that. So we encourage people to apply.
Thanks. I also want to encourage people to apply, and I just looked at the application myself to see how difficult it would be or how much time it would take you to fill out, and it's pretty easy. It kind of cuts right to it and allows you to provide a description of your interests and why you want to serve, and otherwise is very simple to fill out, so don't let that stop you.
It's as rigorous as what your intent to be part of the solution is. Gail?
So, question in case anybody's wondering, are these 4 meetings of the task force open to the public meetings?
Yes, good question. They are open to the public. So if you're not in the 30-member committee per se, that task force, they will take place in the boardroom here, and there'll be chairs spread around so you can watch, you can observe, you can listen to the work that that task force group is doing. And again, our our goal is that it truly is a representation of the community of Sioux Falls. We believe our public education system, the Sioux Falls School District in Sioux Falls, it's a great education. Kids can choose a pathway, whether it's the most rigorous college application pathway, a CTE pathway, which you will hear more about here shortly, but there's plenty of opportunities for our children, and that's part of the strength of Sioux Falls. When you look at our healthcare industry, our banking industry, and a lot of the careers and businesses we have in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, essentially as a board, we will be giving the authority to this particular task force to research and prioritize and come to us at the end of the day, really with a plan that is community generated. The significance of that is we are using taxpayer dollars. We are a public institution, so to the extent that we have public feedback, serves a purpose, and our intent is to use our tax dollars wisely, as well as the partnerships that we have with the various nonprofits around the city of Sioux Falls. So it's dynamic, moving, will almost take us a year, and we will all be invited, as the public will as well, to give voice in that. Plenty of touch points. Gail?
I just love the fact that you're going to get the feedback from the students. Student voice is very important in what they see as their needs in their building. And so thank you for having that foresight to ask the kids what they want in a school.
Yeah, great opportunity for them. I have a quick question, if we don't have any more questions around this, just on the logistics for today, kind of housekeeping. Are we going to do a break now, or will we have Josh do the Career and Technical Education Academy report?
If we could break now, that would be a great time to take a short recess.
Okay, so no rush, but I wanted to just for y'all to know we'll take a brief break as soon as we're done asking questions or putting our observations out there. Any more thoughts for the group as it pertains to the capital improvement plan update? Okay, seeing none, we are going to take about, a 10 minute recess. So please help yourself to any of the snacks, use the restroom, there's some drinks here, and then we will get back at, let's see, 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. lucky that we have some media outlets that are interested and will be great partners to us as we get the information out that we're kicking off this process, and most importantly, getting the word out there for people to apply and be part of it. So we're just really grateful for the community partnership with our media outlets. So thank you. With that, we are moving on to our Career and Technical Education Academy, our CTE enrollment update. And we're so glad that Dr. Hall could come and join us for our afternoon strategic planning session. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Today, I'm excited to talk about, well, give some updates on the Career and Technical Education Academy, specifically enrollment. It's hard to believe we're in our 16th year of operation out at the CTE Academy. It feels like that's gone very fast. I mean, throughout that time, we've added on a couple times. We've added a number of new programs, expanded programs. So a lot has happened. And a lot continues to happen in the way of adding programs. Obviously, our Ag Edition will be done. We're excited about that. We should take possession of that part of the building April or May of this year and start classes next fall out there. When we look at enrollment, we kind of peaked in 2023 and have leveled out a little bit since. Certainly programs, like I said, continue to be updated and advanced. We're always looking for new programs or classes to add. And industry kind of guides us as far as that, as well as student interest. So we take a look at overall enrollment. This number 951, this would be last year's enrollment. We're still gathering this year's current enrollment, obviously, just a little over halfway through the school year, but 951, as well as the other numbers on the graph here, represent the number of unique students enrolled at the CTE Academy in a given year. And so the peak enrollment I mentioned, back here in that 2023 range. Another thing we need to talk about when we look at enrollment is the number of courses taken by students. So 951 is unique students, but many of those students took multiple courses, whether that be over the course of a year or 2 semesters, or more than one during one semester. So for example, this past year, the 2025 school year, we had 1,245 courses taken by students. So you can see the discrepancy between the 951 and that number. That many students took multiple classes, that difference. On top of that, we offer integrated English language or arts courses out at the CTE Academy. And every school year, we have roughly 250 to 275 courses taken in English language arts alongside of CTE classes. We do that in integrated format. So as far as number of courses taken, much higher than what this number shows. Again, this is unique students out at the CTE Academy in a given year. So the next few slides, you're going to see some different ways to break down this data or to look at it. You can see here Sioux Falls School District students versus our out-of-district students who come to us through partnership agreements. At the CTE Academy, we have multiple partnership agreements with other school districts in the Sioux Falls area. And how that works is they sign 3-year partnership agreements. We ask for a multi-year commitment so that we can better plan FTE and budgets and things like that. It also helps them plan for those things. So over the course of the past 10 years, which is this data set that we're looking at, you can see the tuition or the number of students coming to us from out of district has declined. And a lot of that is because those districts are starting their own CTE programs. And so they need that funding to fund their own programs. And so they've reduced the number of seats in their contracts. You'll see that slope there. That's the yellow line up here. Our largest partner as far as out of district continues to be Brandon. They do 40 seats or 80 different enrollments per year. Another interesting set of numbers here We're looking at students who come to the CTE Academy from our 4 main Sioux Falls high schools. And you can kind of see the trends as we look at these numbers. Obviously, New Tech High was absorbed by Jefferson as a program right in here, so you can kind of see that difference. And then there was sort of a transition year at Jefferson because those students who were at Roosevelt had the option to stay and graduate from Roosevelt. So that's a little bit of a hiccup in those numbers right in there. But you can definitely see the correlation between the distance from CTE to those home buildings and how many students attend the CTE Academy. In fact, very much in rank order. We look at the closest building, obviously being Jefferson, with the highest number of students coming over. Roosevelt following that, and then Lincoln, and then Washington, who is the farthest distance from the CTE Academy. So out of the CTE Academy, we do block periods, 100-minute blocks of time, which essentially is equal to 2 periods at a home high school. And we have 3 of those blocks during the school day. These numbers represent attendance or how many students take courses with us during those various blocks. Overwhelmingly, the Sioux Falls School District high school students tend to come out more during second block than the other 2 blocks. And then our out-of-district partners come first block or third block. So they build that travel time in on the front side or the back side, so it's less disruptive as far as getting back to their building. You'll also notice that second semester numbers tend to go down a little bit, and that's because we offer more of the advanced courses during second semester. Okay, so students that can't fit a second CTE class into their schedule during a given school year, they'll either come back or they're not able to take it that second semester. So we offer several introductory classes at the CTE Academy, but also I would say it's about half and half is what it comes out to, versus classes that are all advanced. They start with an introductory course at their home high school. And so we do a little bit of both, but the numbers tend to go down second semester because that's when the advanced courses are offered. Student demographics. So we look at this primarily made up of upperclassmen at the CTE Academy. And when I say upperclassmen, I mean juniors and seniors. We talk about gender, a little bit of an imbalance there, 40% female, 60% male. That number fluctuates, and we'll see on this next slide over the course of 10 years what that's kind of done. But it tends to stay right around there. Here's a different way to look at that data. So on the left side, you can see the green, this area right here, so we're talking about seniors there, and then the juniors in the yellow, sophomores in the blue here, and then a few freshmen at the bottom here or on the way left. And then some of these years you can see just a sliver of red. Those are actually 8th graders. We try to pilot over the years. We used Whittier for that pilot, and that's because our shuttle bus from Washington happened to go right past Whittier, and we could do that without adding an extra transportation expense. So we got credit before grade 9 approved, and we had some students from Whittier come out for some of our foundational classes. You'll also see way on the right side of these bars here, the 21 groups. So we have students from the community campus that also come out occasionally to take courses. So it's a small number, but definitely still represented in this data. I mentioned the data on gender trends throughout the years. You can see it fluctuates a little bit, but primarily we're looking at that 60-40 range as far as the trend. Certifications. This is an exciting thing for us. Our school improvement plan, one of our big goals over the past 4 or 5 years is to increase the number of industry certifications. The South Dakota Department of Education calls these industry recognized credentials, or IRCs. That's becoming increasingly important with the school report card data as we move forward and look into the future. You can see great increases in those numbers. In fact, this last year, 289 different students earned industry recognized credentials. Some of them earned more than one, as noted by the 366 up here in the upper right-hand corner. So the difference between the 366 and 289 is students that earn more than one industry recognized credential. Definitely a success story out at the CTE Academy. You can see that trend line continues to go up, and we continue to look for new credentials that we can add or opportunities for students to earn those industry recognized credentials. We know that gives them a head start, whether they're going right to work after high school, it gives them more earning power, or like I said, maybe it's just a leg up on their competition, I guess, if you're looking to get into a technical school or a higher ed program, something they can show on their resume, sort of that next level, right? It'll separate them from their competitors in those competitive programs. Career clusters. So the South Dakota Department of Education breaks career and technical education down into 16 career clusters. Each cluster, if you want to think about it maybe as an umbrella, and underneath it are common courses, you know, anywhere from foundational courses all the way up through, you know, sort of building those blocks towards a capstone course. And a capstone course could be, well, there's 5 different options. Internship is our most common option in the school district. But these next 2 slides break down the career clusters. It's a little bit light on the screen. The name of the cluster is over here, and then the number of students each year in that cluster are represented by those bars. So you can see some of our larger programs here. In fact, I'll just go on to the hospitality one is a big one out at the CTE Academy, and that has to do with our culinary arts courses. Very popular. We were lucky enough to replace the entire kitchen this last year with a big grant that we received. State-of-the-art facility, and the kids have a lot of fun with it, and there's the evidence, right? They're excited to come out and take those courses. A couple other big programs, you know, you got transportation and logistics, very popular out there, and then our health sciences is this bottom one. That continues to be a very popular program, which you would expect with the healthcare industry in Sioux Falls and the amount of families who have exposure to that. A lot of dinner conversations probably around the healthcare field, I would guess. One of the questions that's been raised over the years is it an issue for students to leave their home campus and come out to the CTE Academy? You know, are they responsible enough to handle that, right? Or does it impact their attendance? Do we see maybe some students get lost on their way out there? Might be one way to word it. So we pulled some data here to kind of compare those attendance rates throughout the course of the year, these 10 years. And you can see it remains pretty consistent, if not in many cases, better attendance out at the CTE Academy. So we're able to sort of quash that rumor or theory that maybe kids would get lost. I think they're up for that responsibility, you know, and we do provide transportation through a shuttle bus system from all our buildings to and from their home building. And then they also have the opportunity to drive themselves. And it doesn't appear to be an issue. I mean, the attendance pretty much holds from the home building. They're able to handle that responsibility, I guess, is kind of the conclusion that we can come to with this data set. So looking ahead, you know, the CTE Academy is well positioned in Sioux Falls. Our team is very proud of the number of industry partnerships that we have and the relationships that we have with various community members in Sioux Falls and our community. I know Dr. Nold mentions it all the time, but they're very supportive. They're very supportive of the CTE Academy, our district, and they continue to partner with us. You know, when we look at what's next, what do we need to be doing, what equipment do we need to put in front of the kids, we have advisory committees for every department in our building, and they meet at least twice a year. And we're constantly talking to them about what we need to do to make sure that our students are prepared. to move on to their industry, to move on to higher ed opportunities. And they show up and they give us that information, and it's very much appreciated. You know, some of the areas that we'd like to focus on moving forward, if you think back to that slide and the number of underclassmen, specifically sophomores, that number was too small, in my opinion. I'd love to see more sophomores out at the CTE Academy. And the reason for that is we can get more kids earlier, you know, involved in a career pathway, and it still leaves them a couple of years to take more courses or to figure out how to fit those courses into their schedule as they work towards graduation. And it allows them to be better prepared when they graduate. You know, I talk to the students all the time. Number one goal is to graduate. 1B is to graduate with a plan, you know, and I think the CTE Academy is another resource in the Sioux Falls School District to help them figure that out. We'd love to see them out there a little bit sooner, like I said, as sophomores. One of the changes that we made this year that should help with that is by moving our freshman career day to the fall. And this was the first year that we did that. Traditionally, it's been during junior testing, during second semester, and the issue there was registration for the following year was already completed at that time. And so by doing this, hopefully students will be better informed when they register for the following year, and hopefully we'll see an increase in the number of sophomores coming out to the CTE Academy as soon as next year. Other outreach methods that we use, we're doing summer camps for middle school students. You know, a couple hundred students a year come out or take camps related to CTE Academy or our pathways in the summer. And again, that's just get kids out there, get families out there to see what's available to them. I hear so often, I had no idea that this was out here. We're trying to move past that. We're trying to market, trying to do everything we can to make sure that our families know about the opportunities that we have for them in the Sioux Falls School District in the way of CTE. And then I mentioned the advisory committees and that alignment of programs. That's something we're constantly doing. We want to create those pathways. We believe in our kids. We want to show them what's out there for opportunities, and we'd love to have them stay in South Dakota for those opportunities. So certainly we're gonna show them those opportunities specifically at our state schools or local industry opportunities. And that's kind of the end of the information or data, I guess, that I have as part of this enrollment report. I would welcome any questions that you might have for me today, or comments or thoughts.
I think you're going to have several, so hold tight, Gail, or whoever's first.
And one thing that I'll add into there as well is we're starting the discussion with the middle schools too, because I think that's a critical component. And how can we revamp our middle school CTE programming? And you'll see part of that as we come up and through with the capital improvement planning process and the committee to look at that. What are some things we could do with the site that we now have with George McGovern Middle School? And we have obviously the Boys and Girls Club there with the after school programming, and to start to utilize that. And we're looking at potentially starting a pilot there to do some of those things. Then also as we talk through the Whittier process and being able to make some changes there so that it will accommodate at the same time that all goes through the school, obviously for the students. What can we also do for the after school programming there that could be utilized during the day for CTE courses? And so to be able to start that at a younger age, look at Ben Rifle Middle School as well as part of that process. And then if some of the changes take place at Patrick Henry and Edison, to be able to remodel some of those spaces to utilize it for CTE as well. Because we're starting to have some of those kids that would truly be very attracted to those career pathways, and they may not see it until it's a little bit too late, until after they're out of the middle school, and by then they may have been disenfranchised a little bit. So we're really going to start to look at that as a focus over the next 5 years, and hopefully within that 5-year period we can have that revamped. We'll have the curriculum study with CTE going through, and we'll be able to look at those different spaces that we have currently, George McGovern, and hopefully potentially Whittier and Ben Rifle and Edison and Patrick Henry, to house some of that CTE program that'll help a kid to seamlessly go into. So we're not waiting till 10th grade even, that we can boost the numbers at 10th grade, but even at 9th grade. And so those kids can see at the middle school that, you know what, I can do this type of, and look at the career clusters that truly have a main draw. So that's something that we're looking at and partnering with. I do know with Steve Hildebrandt and the Promising Futures process to help to go out in the community to build that excitement of the after-school programming and tie it in with the school as well, so we can partner in those two type of things and to make sure that that's a reality for every one of our kids. So that's another step, I believe, that's going to go in the right direction of helping kids to see their future in CT.
That's a good point. Go ahead, Gail.
So when you talk about aligning programs with regional workforce and post-secondary, excuse me, post-secondary partners, can you talk about any current partnerships you might have with Southeast Tech College, or any future plans you might have to expand those partnerships with STC?
Sure. So when I think about those partnerships, dual credit comes to mind first off. And we've had several conversations and continue to explore other ways that we can expand the dual credit opportunities for CTE with the Southeast Tech campus and staff. So that's the one that comes to mind right out of the gate. We also do several different promotional events. And so one of them is with Marmon Energy. And so we do what's called a weld-off competition. And students in the Intro to Welding program from our 4 main high schools come out to the CTE Academy and compete in a welding contest. They're actually doing a weld that Marmon does on the floor as part of their business. So it shows them the CTE Academy, right? That's a way for us to promote it. And then our advanced welding students go up to Southeast Tech to get into their facility and compete against each other, performing another welding activity. And then they also all take a tour out at Marmon to see the facility, right? So that's an example of incorporating Southeast Tech into that loop and showing kids a pathway or a potential pathway. We've also done things with the AGC and the home builders where we'll do construction camps and things of that nature. In health careers, we do a scrubs camp up on the Southeast Tech campus. And so every opportunity that we can, we're bringing our kids up to Southeast Tech in addition to the dual credit opportunities.
So just so you know, every opportunity I have in my conversations with Dr. Klossman to create more programming between the two entities, I push from that side too, so.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No.
So I had a question about industry certification. Who comes in and does that?
So it comes from a third party in all cases, right? So for example, our CNA certification, that's governed by the South Dakota Board of Nursing. Our teachers have to be certified and by their programming, and then we use their tests, right? That's not our thing. That's a third party deal. And the Department of Education determines what these industry recognized credentials are. We could recommend certain ones to be added that we feel like are missing, and we have before, but it's an outside agency. ServSafe would be another one if I talk about our culinary program. Cisco certification in computer science. So these are all outside third-party certifications. This isn't something that we're just doing in-house. Sometimes our instructors will be the certifier or, the certified instructor, like I said, for CNA under the Board of Nursing, because we're lucky enough to have registered nurses as teachers out of the CTE Academy.
Well, and let's be clear, those third parties that are doing the certification usually are in response to what the industry standard would be for that certification. So it's well understood.
Yeah. And for many of those, they come with a cost. And so far, we've been able to cover most of those costs through grants or community support. So that's another added benefit to our students. I'll say all but one, we're paying for all those certifications for students. And the one that we're not, we're covering a percentage of it. So
that's really nice.
I was curious, and I have to give a shout out to Renee Oynes, because when we worked together, when I was at Joe Foss, that internship and the career exploration was really, really impactful for the students at Joe Foss and everything that they were able to accomplish and move forward. I know that it was tough to get some of those students there during that time. I know busing was really expensive too, but I'm curious of any updates with the Joe Foss partnership, just knowing that that population of students are really more career bound not necessarily looking to go into higher ed, but I would think that's our bread and butter. Those are the kids that should be in this program. They should have, we should have their eyes on them and getting their certification, because majority of them might already have a job. And I've done Serve Safe. That's a hard test. Like, it's really, really complicated to know what shelf shrimp needs to go on and like know the temperature. Like, it's really challenging. So I'm glad to see that there's students taking that, because that is setting them up. But could you give an update on what's happening, not happening, what we could see coming forward with that particular group?
Sure. Our alternative programming is, I think, what you're talking about over at Joe Foss. And so, and what Board Member Johnson's talking about is, in prior years, we tried a pilot where we did, I think we called it fourth block, if I remember right. And during the middle of our day, we don't serve lunch at the CTE Academy. We don't have, so kids have to go back to their home buildings for lunch. And students came out at that time from the alternative program and took, we created some of these career exploration programs. So they went through, they kind of got a snippet of different departments, as they came out, and they were able to earn some credit while doing that. What we've gone to now is, and what we've seen as more impactful, finding more success, is integrating those students into our regular classes at the CTE Academy, rather than having a whole class of students from the alternative program come out. And so those students are still very much coming to us through Joe Foss and the alternative program, but they're coming to us as integrated students within our regular sections. And we're still doing a career exploration class. This year we have 2 sections that are going, they're both second semester, and they're geared more towards underclassmen. That would be the students, I'm not sure what I want to do, right? And so we give them kind of that snippet of all these different programs, hopefully leading them to some direction, and maybe some direction into future classes out of the CTE Academy as they get older. But yes, so the career exploration course kind of started with that pilot and has continued, evolved a little bit, changed a little bit, but now we serve those students through any class that they want to. We integrate those students in those classes. That answer your question?
Is there
Okay.
busing involved still or no?
Yep, there sure is. And so, we figured out a way for the Washington bus to stop there and fit that into that route. And so, there's a stop there for,
And I think we have busing from several of the high schools.
We do. It's quite a complicated schedule, but 2 and from every building before and after each block. We provide that transportation to students. We don't want that to be a barrier for them to get out there.
Excellent. Thanks for not letting that be a barrier.
Well, I don't know if it's because I'm cold or what, but I want to talk about summer. So you mentioned camps for middle school kids. So I'm assuming those are summer camps. Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay. So where can somebody find information for that if they're interested?
So we use social media to spread the word on that. Generally that comes out, late February, March, somewhere in there. I know right now we're trying to line up instructors to determine which camps we're going to be able to offer. And usually that's a couple different weeks, and we go Monday through Thursday. There's an afternoon session and a morning session. So if you're a camper in the culinary department, you might do the morning session from 8 to noon, Monday through Thursday. And then maybe you'll jump over to an ag camp from 1 to 5 each day on that Monday through Thursday. Those camps are very affordable. I don't think we've set the rate for this coming summer, but in the past summers, it's been like $25. And really, we have community sponsors and partners. That is more just to solidify the commitment, I guess, because there's such a demand for those seats in those camps, and the opportunities are limited. So $25, you can come out. You can't, as a parent, you probably know, you can't get a summer camp for $25 many places in the Sioux Falls area. And this is a very unique opportunity. To my knowledge, there aren't many camps related to CTE. So great opportunity for students. But no, that information will be coming out. We'll put it on our website as well. And so we'll make sure we blast that out there when that's all set.
I'm also curious about whether there's ever been any thought to doing CTE classes, for high schoolers in the the summertime where, you know, I think sometimes, especially I have a freshman and I know she wants to get out to CTE, but she's not quite sure what she wants to take. And then it's like, well, and I got to fit this and that and everything, you know, so sometimes it's hard to fit all that in a schedule. And I was just curious about any talk of any summer classes or anything like that.
So it's something that's been discussed. We haven't formally offered it. We do offer online summer school out at the CTE Academy, but those are not CTE classes per se. That's an opportunity for students to get ahead for the most part out there through our APEX system. It's something that we have explored. It's a challenge to get instructors in the summer from the CTE world. A lot of them go out to industry and work in industry, which we think is great because it helps them better prepare then during the school year for what they do in front of our students. You know, for example, I mentioned our registered nurses that we have on staff. So they'll go out and work in those hospitals, which also keeps them up to date in that industry setting and gives them stories to come back and share with the kids. And so that's definitely something we've looked through. Instructor availability is a challenge in the summer for CTE teachers.
Okay, just one more question. And not about summer. Just in general, I'm curious about, you know, when you look at all the different career clusters, is there one that's really top of mind for you that you think is you know, kind of where we're going as a society, as a community that you really want to focus on? I know that finance doesn't always get its due when we talk about CTE, but I don't know if that's the main focus, but I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
So, you know, those numbers kind of show where our biggest areas are at healthcare, not a surprise at all, right? We're a big healthcare community, like I talked about. I think there's a number of opportunities for kids in the healthcare pathway. I think we help them sort of narrow that focus because we give them such a wide exposure while also giving them CNA certification. So giving them hands-on patient experience. So healthcare, I would definitely say, is one of those. Finance is another one. Steady numbers in our Academy of Finance. Sioux Falls is a big finance community. But yeah, maybe not as attractive as healthcare, but steady numbers in that area. The culinary arts and hospitality and tourism, the kids seem to get really excited about that. And I think there's a balance there between maybe hobby interest type things as well as working in the industry. And so those are big ones. Carpentry is one that's really coming on. You know, our numbers are solid in there, and we build 2 houses every year, start to finish. It's a great opportunity for kids to see that whole process all the way through. And then I've got to talk about the ag program. You know, we continue to see our numbers tick up with that brand new program. And I'm guessing we'll need to add probably that second instructor in the next 3 years because of the gradual increase there. So ag, very relevant in South Dakota as the top industry. And it's fun to see kids without prior exposure get that opportunity now at the CTE Academy. So long answer, many industries. But yeah, I think there's a number of areas that are growing and kind of I could see is taking a lead.
Thank you.
So are we able to accommodate all students that do have an interest at this time, or is there a waiting list for any of the classes?
Yeah, right now, we've been able to accommodate everything. Sometimes we'll go into a waiting list, but kids tend to shift, you know, the drop ad situation that all high schools experience. So we have that list ready and we're able to get kids in. I always tell kids and parents, if we're starting to see a trend where we're filling up in a certain department, then we're going to figure out how to add more to that department, you know. And throughout the years, health careers is an example. We had to convert a classroom to a third health careers classroom. And we were able to do that by adding some, you know, some curtains and some hospital beds. But we're going to accommodate the needs of the students and those interests.
Excellent. What would be 3 impactful items that you would put out there in terms of the best way to reach the high school kids? Just given your perspective and your experience, what would be those 3 items on your wish list that would be impactful at the middle school level?
Sure. Well, if I'm talking to the community and I have my 3, for those that have had a child come out to the CTE Academy or are aware of the opportunities, spread the word. Tell multiple people about the great things that are happening and that it's part of your public education in Sioux Falls. It's spread the word. The marketing piece of that is huge. That would be one of them. For students who aren't sure, how does this fit into my schedule? Take a leap, right? Take a chance, come out there, take a class. I have yet to talk to a student who regretted it, and do it as soon as possible. I guess that would be the third thing. I talked about wanting to increase the number of sophomores out at the CTE Academy just because then they still have 2 years to take courses out there. My son took a total of 7 classes out at the CTE Academy as a Washington student, and it took him 6 to figure out what pathway was the right fit for him, and went on to do business and through the University of South Dakota. But kids just need some help sometimes figuring out exactly what their fit is. And I believe that's one of the resources we have in our district to help kids figure that out. So come out, give it a try. And for those of you that know about it, tell 5 or 10 of your friends about it.
Good. So there's nothing from an instructional standpoint that we'd have to change around, or anything with guidance counseling that's happening at the middle school level, or we have those pieces already in place?
Yeah, I think we do a good job of letting kids know about that opportunity. I think that change to doing the freshman career visit day to the fall is a big deal. I'm excited to see what that will do to registrations for sophomores especially. We're constantly looking at our curriculum, our equipment, talking to our industry people to make sure that we're using our grant money appropriately to put the best in front of kids and to best prepare them for when they leave us. So I think curriculum-wise, those things are happening as they need to.
Thank you.
A couple things in there, and we're doing high school registration right now. So the timing of having that in the fall for those visits is much more relevant, obviously. So those students that have seen that can go and register at this time. And obviously we want kids to register for classes out at the CTE Academy if they see that. We're also working on some new courses out there with the capstone process, and to give some different options with the capstone that seniors can get out there and hopefully take a CTE class before they do the capstone and be part of that process. So we're looking to expand that. Dr. Hall talked about the large animal and the ag part of that. That's expanded significantly in the last couple of years here, but looking at other ways to see how do we continue to get kids out there. And that capstone, that'll become available for next fall, and we'll see a little more as that progresses and we build that programming as well. So a lot of good things. Part of that also, it feeds into some of the kids that may have that desire, that alternative assessment or the state mandated assessment. For most of our kids, it's going to be the ACT, and we're looking to do that waiver with the state to have something possibly different that could benefit a group of kids that have a desire to go to our technical schools or to the military or whatever it may be. And so they all work together in that and working to continue to build that opportunity. And I tell people often that unless you go out and see it, you don't realize what an incredible advantage that is for our students in the district. So it's a great shining beacon out there for education in the CTE world.
Well, and I'm glad to hear they're starting in middle school, telling that story, because so much of the pathway program, for example, need to be planned out ahead of time. My daughter's already looking at her 9th grade classes here in 8th grade, so the timing of this is really relevant to making an impact earlier on and getting some of the sophomores, some of the growth areas that you talked about desiring, and getting that influence at the middle school started. So
and that's going to lead into our third presentation today. And I don't know if you want a short break or not before you hear that one. It's going to be a little longer presentation because we're going to take you through that whole pathway of preparing kids to know what their career options are in life.
After looking at my bosses here around the table, I'm noticing that some head nods, so they would like to take a break.
Sounds good. Come back and start in about 10 minutes.
Excellent. Thank you. We'll give everybody just a minute here to wrap up whatever they're doing. Okay. When I see all eyes on them, we're ready. No, I'm just kidding. Little teacher piece. The teachers do their clapping, you know, and the students respond. We're ready to go. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 5, college and career planning for students. And we have with us this afternoon several people. I'm not sure if one of you is going to start or, and everybody will have a chance and you will introduce all of our guests. Thank you. I'll let you go ahead and.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, we will all speak, so I'll let them introduce themselves, but I'll start us off. We are here today to talk about just what college and career programming and instruction looks like. And it was nice to have Mr. Hall go first because he already gave a really good introduction. And so we're just going to expand on that. So first off, I'm Kim Sharping. I'm the coordinator of Student Support Services and the Office of Indian Education. All that's just kind of a long title to say that I get to work alongside our school counselors and social workers, and then our Office of Indian Education liaisons and teachers to ensure that all students have the resources and supports that they need to be successful. So a part of those services are introducing college and career readiness and planning and instruction. So that all falls under our district priority of academic success. And I think I'm going to steal Mr. Hall's line of our first goal is always to get students to graduate. And the second part of that is to graduate with a plan. And so that's in everything that we do, is equipping students with the tools and knowledge to succeed in college or careers or whatever they choose after they leave us. So within our district priorities, we identify specific goals each year under that college and career readiness goal. And so for the 25-26 school year, these are the identified goals that we have. So I'll just give a brief overview. We'll go through some of these a little bit more in detail as we go through the presentation. But the first one is to investigate opportunities to increase that CTE Academy enrollment. So as you heard from Mr. Hall, I'm talking about those different strategies. As well as expanding STEAM, so that's that science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics programming and opportunities for students, and that is particularly at Marcel Lebeau. We've added a STEM lab and looking to continue to expand that work. Next, we expanded the middle school CLC programs this year at Ben Rifle, Whittier, and McGovern. And through those CLCs, we've been able to bring in some different opportunities and exposure to college and career pathways. So they have worked with different partners to bring in experiences in culinary, automotive, those health-related careers, as well as some of our post-secondary partners to come in and just start to talk to some of those middle school students that are involved at the CLC. In addition, we are expanding our partnerships for work-based experiences and preparing graduates for post-secondary and career success. In particular, that partnership, some of those include that South Dakota Department of Labor and DSU through the paraprofessional and cyber apprenticeship opportunities that we'll talk about here in a little bit, as well as continuing to partner with Promising Futures and the expansion of that college and career access, a program out at Jefferson High School. Also continuing to work with Junior Achievement. They've been a great partner of ours for all of our students K through 12, but specifically at the middle school, there's been some really exciting things happening just with the JA curriculum. They have started in 6th grade something called BizTown that they're piloting at Memorial Middle School. Last year, all 7th graders got to participate in the Finance Park, which was new. And then in 8th grade, they're still doing that JA Inspire, which is a college and career fair kind of out at the convention center. So continuing that exposure through JA. And then last, our goal this year was to improve the accessibility and usability of our website as we're registering students for high school. Just a lot of people behind the scenes working to improve that website to make it more user-friendly for both students and parents as they're trying to figure out that 4-year plan. So if you haven't checked that out, I would say go to the website and check out our new registration guide online. So those are some of our specific things that we're working on this school year. But when we talk about college and career programming, our school counselors are really instrumental in the development and delivery of all of our college and career programming. So our main prong, I guess, as school counselors is really 3 parts. One is helping students academically be successful. 2 is that social, emotional well-being. And then 3 is college and career readiness. And so that's really what we're focused on here today. In terms of our staffing, we do have elementary counselors at each of our schools, elementary schools, as well as 16 middle school counselors, 25 and a half high school counselors. And then we have a half-time K-12 career counselor. And so that is Renee Oines, who is here with us today. And so she's going to talk a little bit about what her role is as the K-12 counselor.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've met some of you before and you've heard from me before, but I would just add or review kind of the role of the K-12 career counselor. And then the other part of my time is that 0.5 high school counselor at the CT Academy. So it's a great pairing of things that I'm focused on throughout the day. But really my job, you can see some of the highlights there, but is to bring continuity of what we're doing with our career development activities from all the way from kindergarten through that senior experience in high school and that post-secondary launch. I also serve as a resource for activities with counselors, but also teachers, administrators for any career development related activities they're doing. And then I oversee some of the resources we get from our partners and also from the State Department of Ed in helping to administer that. A big one is Zello, which is a career exploration platform and planning platform that our students can use. And we're going to tell you a little bit more about that too. But everything from problem solving, logging in for students to rolling out some of the resources that has to offer as part of my job.
So as Renee stated, her role as the K-12 career counselor is really to help just build that continuum of service and just ensure that we have a systemic career plan K-12. So with us today is one of our elementary counselors, Carmen Machan. She is at Discovery Elementary, and she's just going to talk a little bit about what does career programming look like at the elementary level.
There we go. Okay, I'm Carmen. I'm at Discovery Elementary School, about 850 to 900, depending on the time of year and stuff. And the first thing I want to highlight is that classroom counseling at the elementary level with the scope and sequence focuses on what later on when they go see Dr. Hall, soft skills there. We call them social and emotional learning. And things like problem solving, conflict resolution, emotional regulation, all of the coping skills. I do want to hit on those because that is so important for career readiness, college readiness across the lifespan. And so school counselors are doing those in partnership with teachers. And then we do have career specific lessons as well. And Renee wrote those for 4th and 5th. The 4th grade lesson is really great. It focuses on definitions of post-secondary. But what I start with is, what grade are you in now? 4th grade. Okay. Where are you going next year? 5th grade. But and then where do you go next? And a lot of the room may know it if they have older siblings. If they don't, they might not know. Okay. 6th, 7th, and 8th, you go to middle school. So kind of just teaching the linear, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, you go to high school, and then, plan for after high school. That's post-secondary. So even just simple things like that to start building. We even start to introduce the career clusters as well. So the top 3 of Sioux Falls, finance, manufacturing, healthcare being the number 1, to little kids. You can do it. You know, 4th graders are really interested in it. So they start to hear the words, hear the words career clusters, hear the word post-secondary, planning for post-secondary, college and career readiness, technical school, what type of degrees they can get starting in like that 4th grade. 5th grade, they do a grab bag event lesson where they research, they learn, basically it's to learn how to research a career and the resources available for you. And so the websites that you have, and kind of just teaching them how to do that in 5th grade. So that's really fun for them, and they do enjoy these lessons. Also, there are some things embedded in what we're already doing, like JA, that Dr. Sharping talked about. And then the Amplify Science curriculum does have some career-specific things in there, so they learn about it as they're learning about that in science too, which makes sense. Also, just some new things that we've been trying over at Discovery. We found one-time events really stick with kids. And so we've, it's kind of morphed over, last decade or so, but we do an event called Career Cafe. And this is dependent on community partnerships. But we've had STC, USD Health Sciences Program. We've also had SDSU, and they come in and they do either play-based or hands-on career activities with the kids as they go through stations. And so one was phlebotomy from USD Health Sciences, and then they got to do like an escape room where they tried to solve the crime based on the blood type swatches or whatever. And it was really cool to put those type of people in front of the students, and they have so many specific, really good questions. Kids are interested in learning about these things, and so that's always fun to do those one-time events. And then also we just started this. It's called Astros Adventures, and that's our mascot right there at Discovery. They voted on his name, and then so it's going to be like a flat Stanley thing where like right now it's at a physical therapist, and we're taking pictures with the physical therapist and all the different tools they use, and then they fill out a quick Google form, and then that's going to go in our newsletter to all 900 kids. So we're trying to work smarter, not harder, to get the information in front of the kids in a fun way that they're going to remember. That's kind of what I'm passionate about.
So as Carmen stated, then our goal in elementary is always just getting them ready for that next level. So then we look at middle school, and some of the things that are happening at middle school, we get a little bit more focused in terms of that just career exposure. And so again, our school counselors are going in and once a quarter into classrooms in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, providing classroom instruction on topics such as goal setting. They get into that Zello program where they are really doing more of that career matchmaking, finding their interests, exposing them to those career clusters, and then of course preparing them for high school. And in addition, then also I had talked about the CLCs that at Whittier, George, and Ben Rifle, and then that junior achievement. And so at 6th grade, the pilot for BizTown is they get to apply for a job, so they actually get to practice applying for a job. Then they are assigned a job. They go through the motions of having to figure out how to interview and those skills. And then eventually in March, they go out to the BizTown, and that is an actual separate location of a town that's made up of a bank, a grocery store, a hospital, all of these different community agencies, and they work there. Half of the students are working, the other half are the community members, and so they get to experience what it's like to actually be in a job field and have customers and work through that. In 7th grade, they do the JA Finance part, and again, each quarter they are doing lessons on personal finance, budget, all preparing them for the large event that happens in the spring. Again, off campus, all 7th graders get to go. They are assigned a particular circumstance, so they might be married, They might be single, they might have kids, they will have different careers. They're given their salary, and then they get to see if they own a house, if they rent, and how to budget all of that. And so that's really fun if you ever get to go out there and listen to 13-year-olds talk about how am my kids want to eat out, but I only have this much money, so we're just going to get the $5 meal deal at McDonald's. Those are the conversations that they're having, but very real life, having to budget, and so that's fun. And then at 8th grade, again, is that Junior Achievement Inspire, where after they have completed lessons through Zello and match them with careers, they go out to the convention center and they get to see their top 3 careers and hopefully meet with people from those industries. Throughout middle school, we continue to try and promote students and expose them to the CTE Academy. And so we work with Mr. Hall, who has created the Pizza Pop and Power Tools event for 8th grade girls that are enrolled in CTE or FACS classes. So a chance for them to go out and see what's available to them at the CTE Academy, as well as it is really their first, exposure to a college visit in 8th grade. So all of our 8th graders district-wide have now had the opportunity to visit a college campus. And for many of our students, if they haven't had an older sibling or somebody that they know attend college, it might be the first time ever stepping onto a college campus. And so it's just exciting that we're able to provide that opportunity. And that is in conjunction with Promising Futures, helps fund that opportunity, as well as the SDSU land grant, so that all 6 middle schools can participate in the visit. And then we just have a number of counselors that do different counseling groups. Through Whittier Middle School, that counseling office does a power lunch. So inviting different business women in the community to come in and meet with some of our middle school girls at Whittier. Career cafes at Edison. I know the counselor there is also doing some really specific career lunch groups, so all sorts of things happening. And then, as Mr. Hall talked about, that CTE summer camp for middle school students. So with us today, we also have Rachel Anderson from Ben Rifle Middle School, who is going to take us through an example of a middle school career lesson.
I'm going to stand up just so I can see everyone. Otherwise, I feel like I'm over in a corner. I don't know. It's middle school. When we put kids in a corner, it's not a great sign. So I just wanted to talk about, I have 8th graders right now, which I have lots of feelings about because they're going to be 9th graders soon. When they're in 8th grade, they have lots of very cool opportunities and lots of partnerships we work with between JA and Promising Futures. And I wanted to make sure that my students were ready for those opportunities. It's one thing to send a kid on a college visit. It's another thing to make sure they have a question to ask on that college visit. I maybe learned my lesson from the first time I had 8th grade, and they went to the JA Inspire event, and one spent the entire time trying to fight the entire Whittier group. So I was like, all right, well, maybe we need to do a little bit more. So my very first lesson that I did this year with my 8th graders is they took their career matchmaker on Zello. Zello is this incredible tool. It's so intuitive. It's very thoughtful, and it's very useful. I'm always amazed at how quickly students figure it out. And it's not just the students who are going to be savvy in it, but even like our EL kids figure out how to use Zello, which I'm always worried about them not, just looking blankly at the screen and not knowing what it's saying to them. So we do the career matchmaker. I actually had my students do the career matchmaker in 6th grade so that I could do some programming, and then I had them retake it in 8th grade. And we talked about, like, you are a different person now. You're allowed to have completely different interests. That's awesome. So we're going to take it, and then we're going to talk about how it's different. And then my second lesson is when we go into those career clusters, we talk about, like, okay, so when you took the career matchmaker, you found out that you are interested in being a doctor. So then you would be in the health sciences career cluster. A lot of them have an idea about what a career is, but their understanding of the options to them is so limited. It's they want to be a doctor, they want to be a lawyer, they want to be a cop, they want to be a teacher, like things that they've been exposed to. And I tell them, like, most of you are going to have jobs that I couldn't even tell you exist right now. And so having a career cluster where you say, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I want to work with money is a much better way to have that plan than be like, this is the only thing I want to do, because who knows, you know? It focuses them so that they have an idea of where to go, but it also unfocuses them. So when you have the student who is really committed to being a doctor but can't pass 8th grade science, it lets them, you know, it opens that door, and it gives a much easier way to have that conversation other than, oh, that's not going to happen for you. And then, so with that preparation, then we go to the college campuses, then we go to the JA Inspire. And so I can show you a little bit about what the Zello looks like, and so then what the students see. So I actually took it myself because they always think that's pretty entertaining. And so my career matchmaker results are up there. So not surprising, right? We got special education teacher, high school teacher, that sort of thing. And then it doesn't show in there because I took it off. My number 2 connection was funeral director. And so I don't know if you guys had this experience. I absolutely had this experience in high school. Every time I took one of these, it told me to be a florist. I have killed every plant I've ever had in my life. And so I talked to the students about, like, if you get a match that makes no sense, then that's okay. You are allowed to ignore it. And so we talk about, like, why do you think I was given funeral director? And they say, well, you're good with big emotions and blah, 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 blah. And so we talk about, like, how that's a good option. And I said, I'm still going to take it off my results because there's no world where I would ever want that to be my job. I don't need to spend my time on that. We can take it off. And so we talk about what happens if you get a result that doesn't make sense. So then they get all of those. So that's after the first lesson is they get those pieces. Yeah, see, funeral director. But then it also has the career clusters down at the side. So it's human services. That makes sense. So then when the students have careers and career clusters and they go to JA Inspire, what I figured out was that I watched my students not just go to this event and kind of wander around with my friends. They actually went to the career clusters because JA Inspire is brilliant. And they don't just have, like, this is the only place you can go for medicine. They have the health sciences section, right? And so you go over to the health sciences section and talk to all the health sciences people. You go over to the architecture and construction people. You talk to all of them. And I watched them walk away from it's 8th graders. Getting them to walk away from their friends is very hard. And they did it. They kept walking away from their friends and going to their career clusters. It was a pretty meaningful experience for them. And I was so proud of them. I was so proud of my kiddos. They did just what I wanted. So then we had our CTE teacher ask for feedback about the event. And they said, I learned I'd like to be a social worker. Hey, fellow human services person. I learned about how much money a chef can make. That seems helpful. But, like, you will notice there's very specific things that they learned that are helpful for them in some way. Also, you will notice that they didn't all learn about the firefighters. Firefighters every year at JA Inspire have the coolest thing because they let them put on the outfits and run in them. It's very popular. But they didn't just learn about the one that was popular. They learned about ones that applied to them. So, I don't know. It was a pretty good time. So that's the first 2 lessons that I do. And then I just got done using those career clusters again and talking with them about how to sign up for high school classes. Because I said, okay, so your career cluster is architecture and construction. What classes can you take? And so then I get all the questions of how quick can I get out to CTE and take welding. Pretty fast. So.
Okay. Also in 8th grade, that is when we really start to hone in on what does high school look like. And we partner with our high school counselors to come to our middle schools and talk through that academic plan, as well as really just preparing them for the next step to 9th grade. So Renee Oines is going to talk to us about what does career and college programming in high school look like.
Yeah, so just to recap, with elementary, what Carmen and the elementary team is doing is exposing students to all sorts of different career areas. They're really open books at that point. They are curious, they're interested, they are without a lot of prejudgment about what they might experience. I was at one of Carmen's Discovery events one year, and this little guy wanted the HVAC presenter's information. He was going to contact him later in life. He was so fascinated with the HVAC presenter. So they're just open to being inspired at that age, which is unique because as they get older, we lose some of that. And that's where that exposure becomes really important for what Rachel and her team is doing, which is exploration. Now figuring out, this is what I've seen. Now, how does it apply to me personally? And what can I begin to take as my interest forward into the high school level, which is really preparation. So we're starting to prepare for that launch. It can still include exploration. There's definitely decisions students make about what fits for them and what doesn't fit for them while they're in high school. But we have the tools and resources for them to make meaningful steps towards their career choice, including industry recognized credentials, right? And including preparing for intense exams that they need to pass as that gatekeeping piece to their next step. So that's what we're focusing on in high school is preparation. So part of it is that 4-year plan and working with our high school counselors right now at the 8th grade level to begin to select their courses for high school. But also in 9th grade, we can move on here. We just broke it down by semester what our counseling team is doing with our students at each grade level in high school. And so in 9th grade, we have the event that Josh was talking about with students coming out to the CT Academy to tour and get an idea of all of the course options at the CT Academy. That's now in the fall instead of the spring, which we know is a great match for students as they continue to explore, have conversations with their counselors, and then they're ready for that course registration piece. Also in the fall semester in 9th grade, our counselors are working with students to complete the creation of their academic plan, or their personal learning plan is what you maybe have heard it referred to. And that's their 4-year high school plan. And they're doing that in the fall of their freshman year, particularly not in 8th grade, because in 8th grade, it's enough for them to be registered for 9th grade and have that in their purview. Once they're in high school in that fall semester, they can really understand how high school works a little better and also be able to have more open mind and also be able to digest more information to create that 4-year plan. So they're doing that in the fall of their freshman year as well. And then they're going back to it in the spring when they do their registration, and oftentimes making adjustments or changes to their 4-year plan as they discover new things and new things about themselves. When they move into their sophomore year, that's when during our career day activities in the fall, students choose between exploring a 2-year or a 4-year experience. Students who choose to explore a 2-year experience, they go to Southeast Tech. They also get to choose a more program-specific experience there, so they might select construction. And while they're at Southeast Tech, they're going to more specifically explore welding, construction management, HVAC, architecture. And then they're also going to hear about how they should best utilize their time in high school for what remains of it. They have a good chunk of high school left to be able to make decisions and prepare for that next step. If a student chooses the 4-year opportunity, they're taken to one of our local 4-year institutions here in town. Just with the time frame we have, that works well. And so they get a short tour of what a 4-year college campus looks like, including living and eating situations. Those are usually the top of their list of what they're thinking about, but they also see an academic space. They also get time with the college students that are performing those tours, and that's helpful to get that student feedback. And then they hear from a panel of college representatives, but also a student from their high school that is attending that college now. So they get to maybe see themselves in a different way of, this is a student that was at my high school not too long ago, and what has their experience been like? What did they take part in high school that helped them prepare best for what they're doing now? With juniors, we also give them the opportunity to talk to college and career people during their career day activities with the College and Career Fair. They also hear presentations from those partners that can help inform about various pathways for after high school. It's a very structured presentation, so the students are all hearing the same information across all of our schools. And then they also have a career lesson in that junior year about college and career decision making, and really starting to hone in and get students to be making some decisions. At some point, every student has to decide what that next thing is for them. Indecision is a decision. We still tell them that. And some of them are maybe still in that boat when they're juniors, and even some of them in their early senior year. Indecision is still a decision. So helping them to really wrap their head around that they do need to decide, and we're hoping to start move them towards what that decision is and the resources and opportunities they have available based upon their decision. In the spring semester, they're going back to that personal learning plan for sure, but they're also hearing information about how to be a senior, those action steps that they need to start taking to pursue their plan after high school. And we're getting into the nitty-gritty. We're starting to really break it down of the things that they need to be acting upon. I did want to say with the sophomores too, that their fall lesson, along with the career day activities, is when they come back to Zello and they take the career interest inventory, in some cases a third time. But they've changed sometimes significantly, even between 8th grade and 10th grade. They also take an assessment that hones in on skills, and it starts to incorporate information on how skills and interests are related in your career choice. So it still gives them suggested careers, still gives them feedback on suggested career clusters to look at, but it's that touch point back to that information, that assessment, and also Zello itself to be a personal learning tool for them that they can access at any point. I should say with Zello, they can access it for up to 5 years after high school graduation, which is sometimes when they feel like it's the most important time to come back to that tool. It's great. For our seniors, they also, this year, with it being in the fall, we were able to re-engage them in career day activities. So have them be participants in it, which was great in the spring. It was difficult to talk about career planning when they were so close to graduation. Many of them felt like they had their plan, they were ready to go, which is wonderful. That's what we want in the spring. The fall fit has been great for re-engaging that group and bringing them in. So they had the opportunity to participate in the College and Career Fair. We also had breakout sessions for them that they could choose based upon their plan with presenters that could really provide them tools for those action steps. So really breaking it down and encouraging students to start acting upon their plans. So for a student who is military bound, that was their plan, in the fall of their senior year was a great time for them to really understand the things that they need to be doing to execute on that plan. So it was a great use of time. We could also do information about financial aid. We could do information about enrolling in college. The career day activities landed during our free college application period in South Dakota. That wasn't by accident, that's by purpose. So just really equipping them the best that we can with the timing so they can begin to act. Then we have some additional high school opportunities that we can talk about.
Yeah, so as Renee stated, a lot of the activities that happen are direct with students, but we also want to be sure we're engaging families and parents in the process. So making sure that we're really communicating heavily with families, and we do that through all 4 of our high schools have a counseling website that has a ton of information about scholarships, college visits, all sorts of helpful information for families, as well as school newsletters and then social media. And some of those opportunities include parent information sessions. So being able to come to the high school for a FAFSA night or a financial aid night, learning about college credit and dual credit opportunities, as well as helping them with that course selection through high school. So we want to be sure that families are aware of all of those opportunities to them. In addition, we do have a number of college and military representatives that come to our high schools during that lunch period as another opportunity for them to just have conversations with students, expose them to different pathways and be able to be available to students, as well as a few different college access programs. Renee was going to talk through some of those.
Yeah, so we have various partners in the space of really supporting students to attain that next step if they're interested in pursuing formal post-secondary education. We work with Talent Search from the University of South Dakota, with Upward Bound from SDSU, and those are both TRIO programs that are federally funded, meant to help support students in pursuing their post-secondary degrees. And those come with advisors, with people that really invest in our students, keep in touch with them, help them through the process of college enrollment, help them with career exploration, take them on campus visits. They provide a lot for students that are connected with those programs, and our counseling teams work closely with them as well to just be able to pair up or match students even with opportunities. We also work with the Promising Futures College Access Advisors out at Jefferson, and maybe expansion into the other schools upcoming. And that is a true partnership working together, and that provides much of that same support for students in really that nitty-gritty steps it takes to be able to execute on the plan. And for students who maybe don't have somebody in their life that can help support them through that, I always tell students, you don't have to know this. You never have done it before. It's okay to ask for help and let us help you. That's exactly the kind of help that they need, because they've never done it before. They've never had to. So giving them that support is a huge step for them, and for us to provide to them for sure. We also do things with our special populations and having access to support for sure. So we have a role at Joe Foss that is meant to support students there, that provides much of that same support, including internships, work-based learning opportunities, campus visits, industry visits, and that is a wonderful add for our alternative program. And the students there, we have our CT Academy programming, which you got to hear about and are familiar with. We also do all of these lessons and have various opportunities for our EL and our special ed populations. And some of them are very specific. For example, we have a group during Career Day of our EL students at Southeast Tech, where we provide translators and do a little bit different activity for them there so that they can get an experience that's suitable to them. They can understand and participate and ask questions more easily. And so we want to provide that support to them. That's just an example of how we adjust even within the large crowd that's going to a college campus to help support students with where they're at. And then finally, all of our counselors provide that individual support for students too. As you know, if you've ever walked a student through anything job related, application related, it's extremely time consuming, but our counselors will do that for a student. They will sit down with a family. I don't know how many FAFSAs that I've sat down with students and parents and just walk them through the process of that. But all of our counselors are willing and able to do that as well.
So as we stated, our goal is always to K through 12, expose students to as many opportunities as possible so that when they leave us, they feel equipped for that next step, whatever that might be. So at the end of each year, we survey our seniors. This was the 2025 survey result, and so you can see 64% of them did plan to attend a four-year university. 23% plan to attend a two-year post-secondary institution. 2% plan to pursue military. 8% plan to join the workforce, and 2% of our seniors were undecided. And so that really just speaks volumes to the work that goes into making sure that they have a plan when they leave. So wanted to just share that data with you. As well as our college visits. As we have mentioned, all of our 8th graders are first exposed to a 4-year in-state university as 8th grade. And then again at 10th grade, they have the opportunity to choose between a 2 or a 4-year college visit. And then in their junior and senior year is when it becomes even more focused in being able to help their counselors arrange for college visits. Specifically, we do district-wide. Students have the opportunity to attend the National College Fair in the University of Minnesota, as well as USD, SDSU, and DSU. And then I think we've heard about the top career clusters, but this was, we pulled some of our data from Zello. So based on what students are interested in, it's those arts, the AV technology and communications, and then human services and the health sciences. So that is where a large majority of our students are focusing their interests as of now. And of course, we wouldn't be able to do all of this without the support of our community. We have a number of just really incredible community partners that provide these opportunities for students. So Junior Achievement, Sioux Falls Development Foundation, Avera Academy, Sanford's Classroom to Careers, the Sioux Falls Education Foundation, Promising Futures, as well as all of our post-secondary partners. So all of our the colleges and campuses around the state for dual credit, as well as all of those visits. And then some work-based learning partners. So industries that have allowed our students to come in and do job shadows, internships, and then most recently, the Department of Labor and DSU in the development of the paraprofessional apprenticeship and cyber apprenticeship.
I just finished all of the paperwork today, the final launch of our 20 paraprofessional students, first ever paraprofessional apprenticeship students. So they started this semester, which has been a great exercise of them connecting with that next level. They had to complete things for me, complete things for Dakota State, complete things for the Department of Labor, complete things for the Federal Department of Labor. They're learning about all of these different assets and resources that they can tap into the future, because the apprenticeship can go with them beyond our doors as well.
That is all we had for you guys today. Do you have questions for us?
Well, thank you all. This is a lot of work. This is fantastic. I just get excited because my daughter's in 6th grade, so I know she's getting so close to these opportunities. So even for me as a parent, I'm just looking forward to what she's going to get to do. I'm curious, again, kind of selfishly, kind of not, the Biz Town, I know it's only in one middle school. Is there plans to roll that out to the other middle schools soon?
Yes, yes. Okay. So that is the hope. Memorial was brave to be the pilot for us this year, just to work out the kinks, and then hopefully next year we would roll it out to all of our middle schools.
Okay, that's exciting. And then will we as board members get to know when Biz Town is happening? I think I'm maybe speaking for myself, but I'd love to see
it is March 6th, but I'll verify that date and I can share that out.
Awesome. Yeah. And then my other question was the personal learning plan. I'd be curious to know who has access to see it. and wondering if different facets of people can have a look at it to support the student throughout their years. Just looking at classes, shadowing opportunities, like the more people you can have involved, I would suspect the more likely they follow it and be encouraged by it. Because even as a parent too, if that was put in their Infinite Canvas or Canva or whatever, like if that was placed somewhere for us to see it, I could be like, wow, Rain, it looks like you signed up for this cluster. How can I help you? You know, I'm wondering where that goes.
Yeah.
So the personal learning plan, we've been using Infinite Campus the last probably handful of years, students building their plan in there. So parent or guardian would have access to view that, and students as well, continually. It is something that we're continuing to look at because it's not quite as intuitive as we hope, but we're working on that. So some counselors are using some other tools to help support that as well. And for example, I know Jefferson is keeping some things on Canvas for students to be able to continually look at as well. So we want it to be an accessible tool for all of the supports in the student's life so that it can be referred back to, but also that other people can look at that with the student and provide input and support. So
Awesome.
Good question.
I just wanted to add that in 8th grade, you can sign up to follow your kid on Zello. So all of my students who have done a career matchmaker, if their parent, they just have to fill out a Google form, and then they can see all of their responses and their results as well. So I would say, I don't know, I've got probably about 15% of my parents who have been interested in that. But I know it's facilitated some fun conversations with kids.
And then just a quick comment, Rain's dad, Braden, is one of the career access coaches at Jefferson. And so oftentimes he'll message me and say, hey, I'm gonna meet a family that's an immigrant refugee family. They could only see me at 7 at night on a Thursday. Can you take Rain? So it's been cool to see that that access is spreading out to a lot of folks who really, really do need it, and they don't have the opportunity to come to the career fair or see the counselor during the day. So the fact that that opportunity is spreading out like that, that's quite spectacular to hear and see it firsthand. So very cool.
Speaking of that, promising futures, I'm wondering if the high school counselors, the 25.5, does that include the
No,
promising?
that is just the school counselors that are, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't include those numbers.
The college and career access coaches would be on top of those.
Okay,
school
you don't
counselors.
frame that within the context of your department.
Yep, so each high school has 6 counselors.
Mhm.
And then we also have a full-time counselor at Joe Foss. And then as Renee said, she's half-time at CTE. And we have a counselor at Axel Park. So all of those people are what are included in that 25.5.
Okay, because I just did some, quick math and to better understand their caseload. Be about
sure.
240 kids per counselor to help out with all these great things, to get them career ready. And I wanted just to better understand, and it's very understood now, the significance of promising futures.
Absolutely.
And what they're giving to Jefferson High School.
Right.
And it will be interesting to see some of the data that comes out of that. And then with that, because it is such a big caseload, I'm wondering how, this goes into your question to other people having access to their clusters, teachers and coaches. I'm thinking of the kids that fall through the cracks and how we're specifically addressing and getting the needs to the kids that need it most. Because it seems to me that, I guess maybe I don't understand how your caseload comes at you other than it's assigned. And that's a lot of kids, 240 per counselor, roughly. And then when we look at this is just an example of those additional opportunities, That being, and I'm sorry, ours didn't have, it was empty under additional opportunities, but I wrote down the individual support for job applications and some of that. You know, how are we utilizing teachers and coaches to highlight the students that we may or may not be missing to get them through the pipeline, given the constraints of funding and the large caseload? Because I get excited too, listening to all the things that you're doing. Then it pulls me back to reality when we think about how we're really able to operationalize this and how we're better utilizing the resources, the teachers, the coaches that have the relationship. So it's kind of a long-winded question, but there's a lot of variables. And I'm also wondering, at the high school level, are we still using the ad rooms where it's one teacher for 4 years with that student? And what does that relationship look like between the counselors and the person that's getting to know them? So a lot of pieces to that. You may not be able to answer it today, but I really wanted to highlight the significance too of what's happening with Promising Futures and, and the need that we have.
Yeah, so I appreciate that observation. As I mentioned at the beginning, our school counselors, you know, they're focused on that academic planning and helping students be successful, as well as all of that social, emotional well-being. And then this is just a small portion of what they do, but you can see it's significant and impactful. And so having, you know, a partner like Promising Futures to come alongside and say, we can meet parents at 7 p.m. to work on a FAFSA, you know, that's incredible. And so I think it's only going to enhance what we're able to do in terms of meeting students where they are and making sure they have all of the tools that they need that counselors would love to do, but don't always have the time to do that. So I appreciate you making that observation. And then in terms of who are some of those other people, you know, we didn't even touch on JAG and just all of the different course offerings that are also marketing. You know, there are a ton of our academic course offerings at middle and high school that really feed into this. And I think about in middle school, that's really where we're exposing kids for the first time to CTE, to facts, to music, to the arts, you know, all of those things that they get to choose from. And all of those people are part of this greater picture.
Well, and identifying students for the talents research and Upward Bound, I would imagine some of that falls on teachers as well as the counselors and coaches and whole community.
I would just add to that too, that I think you're looking at the high school ratios, is that right?
I did just at the high school.
That at all of our levels, we know that primary relationship is the teacher and the student in most cases. And so the first conversation about this isn't necessarily with the counselor. It's really with those teachers that they've trusted and learned. So I know at least in some of our buildings, maybe in all, that our counselors provide opportunities to have that connection with teachers and give them information, resources to help them be better prepared when they're talking with students. Especially, we know like registration period is an incredible time where students have wonderful conversations with their teachers, and we want to make sure that those teachers have information and background that they can share and that they know to feel free to refer to that counselor too. So they're all incredible partners that we have to have in order to support the whole process for all of our students. So thanks for bringing that up. Anything we can do to make that close.
I'm glad we acknowledge the many hats that the teachers, being our first line people, are providing the students. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking of the 2% of the students, the seniors, who are interested in the military as a career, right from high school. This might sound a little weird, but I'm really serious about this. Do they have any opportunities to go visit a base or anything other than having a recruiter come and sit in a counseling conference room? I mean, we've got an air base here in Sioux Falls. We've got at least an Army recruiting office. I know their headquarters are out in the hills, same way with Ellsworth. I don't know about the other branches, but do they ever get to have truly boots on the ground in and a base or facility like that.
You want to speak to that one? Okay. Yeah.
So there's a couple pieces. So try to get those groups in. I know part of the Career and College Access Advisor partnership with Promising Futures, that was one of the goals they had, was doing some type of monthly military-based visit to try to get kids, however many it might be, and get them out to just get their feet inside there and see what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. And there's mechanics there working on large planes. If you're on the air base, that's just a lot of cool opportunity. But that's where that partnership with CCAs, like our counselors, do a really good job of getting us here, and they're also handling so many other things as well. And then through that CCA program with Promising Futures, they're able to stack on top of it just a little bit and target some of those. It takes a lot of time to do a FAFSA. We heard some of that, right? It's not something that just happens in 30 minutes. It's an event. And so that's just a whole lot of person power that is required to do some of that. But that was one of the initiatives when Promising Futures came and said, hey, let's get more exposure and be targeted as military as a career. Let's be more targeted for our first responders as a career. So not only military based, but going out to the EOC for the city and seeing some of that stuff, whether that's fire or medical, but truly providing those experiences to kids to help them. One thing with the Zello, it took me a hot second, but Zello, formerly known as South Dakota My Life, right? Yeah. So it has been around for a while, but what a great opportunity for kids as it goes through. The 4 high schools have a little different format. There's a couple that access the ad room plan, where they have ad room on a daily basis, but it's also part of their win time, what's important now, where kids get opportunity for support from a variety of teachers. And then 2 of the other high schools, instead of utilizing an ad room time, they're utilizing a little extended period opposite the lunch, where kids can get through and get the support they need from teachers for academic support too. So the ad room's kind of morphed a little bit through the years as to what that looks like. Still pro time in the middle school, right, where they have that daily component of community building too.
Another group I just want to acknowledge is the teachers that, and those of us, any of us administrators included, that are writing letters of recommendations for students. It's labor intensive, let's be honest about that, and also filling out the forms for awards, whether it's Teacher of the Year or students that need acknowledgement or are deserving of it. It all takes having some real awareness and putting in that effort. So makes a difference. Okay. Well, thank you again. And again, want to highlight the good work that you all are doing with your partnership and Promising Future and the difference that it's making at Jefferson. And we look forward to hearing more once you get some more data surrounding that particular program and all the other community department partners. Okay. Now we will move on to the board member committee updates. We'll go ahead and start with Gail, if that's okay.
I'm sorry it's not in written form, and if Ms. Sharpie wants to hang around and see if I do justice to this or not, but it's my McKinney-Vento board report, and I will put it in written form and so that Dr. Nold has it for Friday notes. But I just want to share a few quick numbers with you. As of our meeting this month, 912 students have been identified through the Stuart B. McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Act. And, you know, like any federal regulation, there's some pretty hefty qualifiers for how a student or a family becomes qualified to receive our McKinney-Vento services. But 912, that's a lot of kids that our folks here and our liaisons have dealt with well. As far as breakdown, I think it's interesting. We've had, currently there's 356 female students in K-12 qualified and 343 males, so it's pretty close split 50-50 on our school age kids. If you break that up in by race, Our indigenous kids, 26%, Hispanic, 24%, white, 18%, black, 15%, two or more races, 15%, Pacific Islander, 1%, and Asian, 1%. Those are the categories that families self-identify for. But I always find that interesting to see where we are in that ethnic breakdown as well. And then when you look at their budget, it's no surprise to me that transportation, of course, is the biggest cost for getting these kids to their school of origin, which the law says if they start here and the family moves somewhere else, you know, if they choose to stay in that school of origin and finish out the year and then move to, if it happens to be a different school, they have that right to stay in the school of origin, and we would have that right, I mean, that need to, yes, thank you. Responsibility is a good word, thank you, for transporting that child. But of the $92,000 they've spent so far this year, $67,000 of it has been for transportation. But as we all know, getting kids to school is 3/4 of the battle. If we can get kids to attend in school, you know, then we're starting to equal that playing field for those students. So transportation is a very important element of some of the services that we provide. So like I said, I will do a little more in-depth written report. I'll get it to Dr. Knoll for his Friday notes. So sorry for the oral report.
I will add to that, there's been some years where it's been well over 300,000 that we've needed to utilize for transportation to help our homeless population to be able to attend school. And that's a unique thing that obviously with the public schools that we go through to do. So it is a very expensive process, but obviously very important.
Thank you, Gail.
So our sports authority is gearing up for the Summit League, and that's a huge deal for Sioux Falls. The headquarters are here. It's just amazing what they're getting done. And on another note, and I want to put this the right way, we have expanded, but not financially, because a few years ago the finances were cut back by the Summit League itself. So that's kind of changed that role, but they had a good marathon season last year. They didn't have to cancel it. And hopefully that'll come back, because we lost some people that wanted to come and run, and they're going to use this qualifying marathon, and they couldn't because 2 years ago it was too hot. So participation's back up there. So it's kind of interesting to follow that. Other than that, there's no more news on the Colored Wood project. We're somewhat looking for funding, and we have some plans that we've come up with. And if we can do them, it'd be wonderful. But I think it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to fund finance.
Thank you. For accessible housing, we approved of 2 low-income housing developments, one supported by Habitat for Humanity. They're both going to emphasize family-size units, townhomes with 2 to 4 bedrooms, which is a great need in our community. One project is over by Rosa Parks School, and the other one is by Laura B. Anderson. And the question that I asked the 2 entities was if they take in consideration what the principal's perspective is on the housing needs. And they said they didn't really do much beyond like a community talk. So I encourage them moving forward to get in touch with administration to really speak to the location and what the needs are as far as housing, because even just living out by Rosa Parks when I did, there was all these wonderful developments, but they were way too expensive for the average family. So they didn't fill in, and kids didn't move to that area because of the expensive housing. So I was really, really pushing for them to take that into consideration moving forward. So I'll keep an eye on that, but it's just nice to see that they're focusing on affordable townhome situations for families to live.
And I just wanted to mention the Teacher of the Year award coming up. I thought, as the newbie on the board, I was like, how did I get so lucky to be on this Teacher of the Year committee? I get it now. It's the most impossible decision I'll ever have to make. So the good news is that there's not a bad decision, and I'm not in it alone, obviously, but yeah, please check out all the teachers that have been nominated. That's posted out on social media, and congratulate them. It is absolutely a huge honor for all of them to be nominated, and I want to make sure everyone's recognized because it's really just, we have so many incredible people working at our schools that it's impossible to pick one.
Yeah, we have it. I do at 4:00. Well, our last meeting, you all got an update really with the Head Start. But a big piece of that is our budget process is underway. So Head Start budget is almost complete, and that's public information. So if anybody's interested in seeing that, you're able to do that. The budget will remain fairly consistent with years past, with some savings in the area of transportation due to expanding bus boundaries. So they're also looking at purchasing some furniture that's needed for the classrooms. That I think would be the biggest highlight. Yeah, so and I think we're good. We will move to adjourn. Or, well, adjourn this meeting, really, right, Gail? Yeah, okay, thank you. Do I have a motion? All in favor? Okay, we're adjourned.